Dayton police asking for your help tonight after a deadly shooting early this morning.
2 people were found dead inside of a home on Shaftesbury Road just after 6. Investigators still trying to piece together exactly what happened there.
6:20 in the morning, May 22nd, 2024. Dayton, Ohio. A quiet residential street becomes a crime scene drenched in blood. A neighbor's surveillance camera captures something bone-chilling. A man with red and white dreads, gun in hand, peering through a bedroom window. He's not some random intruder. He's not a stranger breaking in. He's the father of the children sleeping inside that house. What you're about to hear isn't just a murder. It's a massacre that unfolded on a birthday. The killer had sent text messages just months before, promising, "I would never kill you." But on this morning, he broke through a window, chased his victims through the house, and pulled the trigger again and again. 2 lives stolen, an unborn child lost, and the whole thing caught on camera. Welcome to Shadows of Crime. If you're ready for a story that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about love and obsession, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from today. Trust me, you're gonna need to talk about this one. Because what happened inside that house, it's worse than you think. Before we dive into the horror of what happened that morning, you need to know who these people were. Because this wasn't random. This was personal. This was calculated. And the victims? They had no idea death was coming. Her name was Precious Taste, 32 years old, mother of 7 children. And on May 22nd, 2024, she was 4 months pregnant with her 8th. Precious wasn't just surviving, she was fighting to rebuild. A year before her death, she had lost over 200 pounds. She was focused on her kids, on creating a better future, on opening her home to friends and family who needed a safe place. People who knew her said she had this energy, this warmth that made everyone feel welcome. But there was a shadow hanging over her life. His name? Nicole Cunningham Jr. Everyone called him Nico. Nico was the father of her twin 4-year-olds. He was also the father of the baby she was carrying. And their relationship, it was toxic, violent, deadly. Back in 2022, Nico stabbed Precious while she was pregnant. Let that sink in. He stabbed the mother of his children while she was carrying his child. The charge? Felonious assault. The sentence? Light. Too light. He was released on parole in January 2024. Just 4 months later, he would kill her. Precious tried to move on. She told Nico it was over. She wanted her car back. She wanted him out of her life. She was done. But Nico wasn't the type to let go. And the texts he sent her? They'll make your blood run cold. Over 50 pages of messages. One of them read, "I'm watching your every movement. You better not touch anyone else." Another one, sent just months before he murdered her, said, "I would never kill you." Precious knew the danger. She saw the red flags. She tried to leave. But sometimes, leaving isn't enough. Now let's talk about the other victim, the one whose name got buried in the headlines. Deontay Johnson, 16 years old, a kid who loved fashion, music, and making people laugh. He was the type of teenager who could light up a room, who had dreams, who had his whole life ahead of him. On the night of May 21st, 2024, Deontay was doing what teenagers do, sleeping over at a family friend's house. He had no connection to the drama between Precious and Nico. He wasn't involved in their arguments. He was just there. Wrong place. Wrong time. When police arrived at the scene the next morning, they found Deontay upstairs, still under the covers. At first, they didn't even realize he was there. He was holding a gun, a detail that would later become a twisted piece of Nico's defense. But the truth? Deontay was an innocent kid who got caught in the crossfire of someone else's rage. His mother, Jennifer Lewis, would later speak out, making sure the world knew her son wasn't just collateral damage. He was a bright, talented young man whose future was stolen in an instant. Deontay had no idea that night would be his last. And when police found him, they almost didn't see him at all. 2 lives, 2 futures, gone in a matter of minutes. May 21st, 2024. The night before everything went to hell. Precious and Nico got into it again. This time it was about her car. She told him straight up she was keeping it. She was done with him, done with the drama, done with the control. She wanted him out of her life for good. Nico didn't take it well. He promised he'd come back to get the keys. He told her not to call the police, just give him the keys, and he'd leave. That's what he said. But here's the thing about abusers. They don't just walk away. They make promises they never intend to keep. And Nico? He was already planning his next move. The relationship between Precious and Nico had been a nightmare for years. Court records show that between them, there were over 50 pages of text messages. 50 pages. And some of those messages, they're absolutely terrifying. One text from Nico read, "I'm watching your every movement. You better not touch anyone else." Think about that. He wasn't just jealous. He was obsessed. He was tracking her, monitoring her, making sure she knew he was always there, always watching. But here's the twisted part. Just months before he killed her, Nico sent another message. This one said, "I would never kill you." He promised her. He looked her in the eye, or at least through a screen, and swore he would never hurt her like that. And she probably wanted to believe him. Because when you share kids with someone, when you've been through hell and back with them, you want to believe they're capable of change. But Nico wasn't changing. He was escalating. That night, Precious went to bed. She probably thought the argument was over. Maybe she thought Nico would cool off, come back for the keys, and that would be the end of it. Upstairs, Deontay Johnson was asleep. He had no idea what was brewing. He was just a kid crashing at a friend's place. On the couch, Jawan Lauren Washington, a friend of Precious, was also settling in for the night. She had no clue that in just a few hours, she'd be running for her life. The house was quiet. Everyone was asleep. But Nico wasn't done. Not even close. And what he did next, it's on camera. A neighbor's surveillance footage captured something chilling. Around the early hours of May 22nd, Nico showed up at Precious's house. He didn't knock. He didn't call. He crept up to her bedroom window and peered inside. He was scoping it out, checking to see where she was, planning his entry. Then he left. But he came back. And this time, he wasn't empty-handed. This time, he was armed. The footage shows him approaching the window again. His red and white dreads are visible. His movements are deliberate. He knows exactly what he's about to do. Precious had no idea. Deontay had no idea. Jawan had no idea. They were all asleep, thinking they were safe in their own home. But Nico had already made his decision. He wasn't there to talk. He wasn't there to get the keys. He was there to make sure Precious never left him again. And in just a few hours, 2 people would be dead. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you? Like they knew your every move? That's what Precious lived with. If you've been there, or you know someone who has, comment below. This is bigger than one story. 6:20 in the morning, May 22nd, 2024. Nico's 32nd birthday. Nico returned to Precious's house on Shaftesbury Road. But this time, he wasn't there to talk. He wasn't there to get his keys. He was there to end it. He walked up to her bedroom window and smashed through the glass. Inside, Jawan Lauren Washington jolted awake on the couch. The sound of shattering glass ripped through the quiet house. Then, she heard Precious scream from the bedroom. "Why do you keep doing that to the window?" Nico's voice came next, calm, almost casual. My bad. I didn't mean to do that to the window. Then the gunfire started. Boom. 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 Jawan didn't wait. She ran. Straight to the basement, her heart pounding, her mind sing. The shots didn't stop. They echoed through the house, one after another, relentless. And then she heard Precious. Precious came running down the basement stairs, her voice breaking, desperate, pleading for her life. "I'm sorry. Please, no. I'm sorry." But Nico didn't stop. He kept shooting. Precious Taste, 32 years old, mother of 7, 4 months pregnant with her 8th child, was gunned down in her own home by the father of her children.
He shot his longtime girlfriend, the mother of his children, who was pregnant with his child.
She begged for mercy. She apologized. She did everything she could to survive. It wasn't enough. Upstairs, Deontay Johnson never had a chance. The 16-year-old was asleep when the shooting started. He was hit by gunfire while still in bed. When police arrived later that morning, they found him under the covers. At first, they didn't even realize he was there. He was just a kid, sleeping over at a friend's house, and now he was dead. Here's where it gets even more twisted. Deontay was found holding a gun. The defense would later try to use this as evidence, claiming Nico acted in self-defense. But forensic experts shut that down fast. All the bullets recovered from the scene came from the same weapon, Nico's gun, not Deontay's. The ballistics didn't lie. So was it self-defense? Or was Nico setting up an alibi, planting a weapon to justify what he'd just done? And here's the part that'll haunt you. Precious's 4-year-old twins were in the house. They heard everything. The breaking glass, the screaming, the gunshots, their mother begging for her life. They survived, but they'll carry that trauma for the rest of their lives. Imagine being 4 years old and hearing your mother's final moments. When investigators processed the scene, the forensic evidence painted a clear picture. All the bullets came from Nico's gun. 4 shots were recovered, 2 from the victims' bodies, 2 from the scene. The coroner testified that Precious had been shot from above. The bullet trajectory showed the gun barrel was pointing downward, consistent with someone standing on the stairs, firing down at her as she tried to escape. She wasn't just shot. She was hunted. And the unborn baby? The coroner measured the fetus at 4.5 inches long, weighing 131 grams, approximately 14 weeks. A life that never got a chance. 3 people dead. A mother. A teenager. An unborn child. And all because Nico couldn't let go. But here's what makes this even more twisted. Nico didn't just kill Precious and Deontay. He stole Precious's car, a white Chevy Malibu, and disappeared. Just vanished. For 2 months, he was a ghost. Police put out alerts. The U.S. Marshals got involved.
Again, I need the public's help. I gotta have the public's help on this. Again, if you saw something, say something.
Tips came in from Richmond, Indiana, and Cleveland. But Nico stayed 1 step ahead. When they finally caught him, he'd changed his entire look. Those red and white dreads that made him so recognizable. Gone. He cut them off, trying to blend in, trying to disappear. And the way they found him? Pure luck. On July 23, 2024, Ohio State Highway Patrol spotted a silver Chevrolet Equinox linked to an armed robbery. The driver matched Nico's description. They tried to pull him over. He refused. A high-speed chase tore through the streets of Cleveland. Nico ditched the car near Lakeview Avenue and ran into the woods. Officers closed in. The aviation unit tracked him from above. And just after 3:20 in the afternoon, they found him hiding in an abandoned house on Osceola Avenue. He surrendered without a fight. The manhunt was over. But the damage was done. Nico had killed 3 people. He'd traumatized 2 4-year-olds. He'd destroyed families. And for what? Because Precious wanted her car back? Because she told him it was over? If you've ever wondered why someone stays in a toxic relationship, this is why. Because leaving is the most dangerous time. Precious tried to leave. She told Nico it was over. She wanted him gone, and he killed her for it. After the shooting, Nico didn't stick around, and he grabbed Precious's white Chevy Malibu and took off. Just like that, he was gone. Dayton police responded to the scene within minutes, but by the time they arrived, Nico had already fled. 2 people were dead. 2 4-year-olds were traumatized, and the killer was in the wind. Major Brian Johns from the Dayton Police Department Investigations Unit held a press conference and didn't mince words. He shot his longtime girlfriend, the mother of his children, who was pregnant with his child. He murdered her. So if he will do that, he will murder anybody.
He shot his longtime girlfriend, the mother of his children, who was pregnant with his child. He murdered her. So if he will do that, he will murder anybody.
The message was simple. Do not approach. Call 911. This man had nothing to lose. Tips started pouring in. Someone spotted him in Richmond, Indiana. Another tip placed him heading north toward Cleveland. Every lead was followed. Every sighting was investigated. But Nico stayed ahead of them. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The families of Precious and Deontay were left waiting, grieving, wondering if justice would ever come. The community was on edge. How does someone with such a violent history just vanish? Nico was booked into the Cuyahoga County Jail and extradited back to Montgomery County to face charges. 4 counts of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, involuntary manslaughter, domestic violence, tampering with evidence, weapons charges, unauthorized use of a vehicle. His bond was set at $1 million. The families finally had him in custody. But the fight for justice was just beginning. But even behind bars, Nico had one more card to play. And what he said in court? It'll make you sick. August 2024, the trial of Nicole Cunigan Jr. began. 4 days. That's all it took to lay out the horror of what happened on Shaftesbury Road. 4 days of evidence, testimony, and cold, hard facts that painted a picture of obsession, control, and murder. The prosecution came prepared. Over 50 pages of text messages between Nico and Precious were entered into evidence. Messages where Nico wrote, "I'm watching your every movement. You better not touch anyone else." Messages where he promised, "I would never kill you." The jury read every word. They saw the threats. They saw the lies. They saw the manipulation. Then came the surveillance footage. The neighbor's camera that caught Nico peering into Precious's bedroom window, gun in hand, scoping out his target. The footage showed him leaving, then coming back. Deliberate, calculated, premeditated. But the most powerful moment of the trial, when Jawan Loren Washington took the stand. Jawan was the friend who had been sleeping on Precious's couch that night. She was there. She heard everything. And now, in front of a packed courtroom, she had to relive it. She described waking up to the sound of breaking glass, hearing Precious scream, "Why do you keep doing that to the window?" Hearing Nico respond, "My bad. I didn't mean to do that to the window." Then the gunfire. Boom, 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 boom. She ran to the basement. The shots didn't stop. And then she heard Precious running down the stairs, begging, "I'm sorry. Please, no, I'm sorry." Jawan's voice cracked as she testified.
He replies what?
"My bad. I didn't mean to do that to the window." Pow, 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 pow. And she starts screaming. And then that's when I get up and run to the basement, and you still hear the shooting throughout the house.
The courtroom was silent. The jury didn't look away. The defense tried to spin it. They pointed to the fact that Deontay Johnson was found holding a gun. They argued self-defense. They tried to paint Nico as a man who was protecting himself, who was under threat, who had no choice. The prosecution shut it down fast. So forensic experts testified that all the bullets recovered from the scene came from the same weapon, Nico's gun, not Deontay's. The ballistics were clear. The trajectory of the bullets showed that Precious had been shot from above, consistent with someone standing on the stairs, firing down at her as she fled. She wasn't attacking. She was running for her life. The defense had nothing. The evidence was overwhelming. After 4 days of testimony, the case went to the jury. They deliberated for 5 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all 10 counts. 4 counts of murder. Precious, her unborn child, Deontay, and related charges. 2 counts of felonious assault, involuntary manslaughter, domestic violence, tampering with evidence, unauthorized use of a vehicle. The courtroom erupted. Precious's family sobbed. And Deontay's mother, Jennifer Lewis, closed her eyes and exhaled. Justice had been served, but it didn't bring them back. Sentencing was scheduled for August 29th, 2025, over a year after the murders. When that day came, the courtroom was packed again. Precious's brother, Carl Thomas, stood up to address the court. His voice was steady, but the pain was raw. "You took a beautiful soul," he said, staring directly at Nico. "All the tough talk you did wasn't tough enough to walk away. After she asked you to leave her alone, she just walked away. Bro, there are more fish in the sea. You ended your life, hers. You didn't care about your kids. They say forgive and forget. I ain't gotta forgive you. I'm just gonna forget about you, bro, because that's what it is." The courtroom was silent. Then it was Nico's turn to speak. Funty stood up, looked at the judge, and said, "I'm innocent. God don't put nobody through nothing they can't handle." No remorse, no apology, no accountability. The judge handed down the sentence, 39 years to life in prison. Parole eligibility, 2063. Nico would be in his 70s before he even had a chance at freedom. And even then, it wasn't guaranteed. But here's the thing. Nico's in prison. Precious is gone. Deontay is gone. And 7 kids are growing up without their mom. So who really won? Precious Taste left behind 7 children. 7 kids who will grow up without their mother. Her twin 4-year-olds were in the house that morning. They heard the gunshots. They heard their mother's screams. They survived. But the scars will last forever. Deontay Johnson's mother, Jennifer Lewis, has been fighting to make sure her son isn't forgotten. In the media coverage, Deontay's name often got buried beneath the headlines about domestic violence. But Jennifer made it clear. Her son was a bright, talented 16-year-old with dreams. He loved fashion, music, and making people laugh. He wasn't just collateral damage. He was a life stolen too soon. The community rallied around both families. At a vigil held in Precious's honor, purple balloons, her favorite color, filled the sky. Friends, family, and neighbors came together to mourn, to remember, and to demand change. But here's the part that should make you angry. This didn't have to happen. Nico stabbed Precious back in 2022 while she was pregnant. The charge? Felonious assault. The sentence? Light. Too light. He was released on parole in January 2024. Just 4 months later, he murdered her. He was on parole when he killed her. He had a gun despite being under disability. The system knew he was dangerous. The system knew he had a history of violence. And the system let him walk free. Major Brian Johns from the Dayton Police Department said it best during a press conference. Domestic violence is a struggle we face all the time, not just in Dayton, but as a society. Resources exist, like Dayton's Family Justice Center, which partners with YWCA Dayton and the Artemis Center. But they're not enough if dangerous people aren't held accountable. How many more precious tastes have to die before we fix this? Nicole Cunigan Jr. will die in prison. But Precious Taste and Deontay Johnson are already dead, and the system that was supposed to protect them, it failed. Precious saw the red flags. She tried to leave. She told Nico it was over. She wanted her car back. She wanted him gone. But leaving is the most dangerous time in an abusive relationship, and the system that should have kept her safe let a violent man walk free on parole with access to a gun. If you're in a relationship where someone says, "I'm watching your every movement," that's not love. That's control, and control turns deadly. Precious's story isn't unique. Every day, people are trapped in relationships with partners who monitor their phones, track their locations, threaten their lives, and make them feel like there's no way out. But there is a way out, and there are people who can help. Here's a question for you. What would you have done if you were Precious's friend? Would you have seen the signs? Would you have said something? Would you have helped her get out? Drop your answer below. And if this story shook you, share it. Subscribe. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? And what's one red flag you'll never ignore again? Because the next Precious Taste could be someone you know. And the next Nico Cunigan could be someone they trust. Don't let this happen again.